All right. Hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the Hill Duvernay Associates webcast. I am a co-host. My name is Nicole Carter, and we're here today with the managing partner of Hill Duvernay Associates.
Yes, hi, I'm Candace Hill Duvernay. I know that's a mouthful, but that's who I am, Candace Duvernay.
So I'm really excited about tonight's topic because we're going to talk about mediation,
yes.
Right? A win-win for everyone, why that's the case. So quick background story on how we decided for this one as a particular topic. We were chatting, and I knew Candace was a lawyer, and I was like, "Catch me up! You're doing criminal defense," and she goes, "Yeah, and mediation, arbitration." I was like, "Whoa!"
Right.
I was like, "Stop!" Okay. I said, "Mediation. What, when, where, how, who?" And I just shot off all these questions, and she gave me all these answers, and I was like, "Wow, that's great." It was really informative, and we were like, there might not be as many people as we think who know about mediation as an option, and so that's really what we want to talk about tonight, because it really is a great alternative.
Right.
So we're going to start with the very obvious question,
yes.
Starting from the beginning, right, and we'll drill our way down. But what is mediation?
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for logging in. Mediation is what we call an alternative form to dispute resolution. And what that means is we are able to come together, you and the other party, so they're parties to conflict. They come together with a third party neutral. So that's the person who is not on either side. They don't represent either side. They just come together to help people decide if they can come together to resolve their conflict. So that can occur anywhere. We can have a mediation in a boardroom. We can have a mediation in a conference room, in a living room. Wherever people feel comfortable resolving their conflict, we would come together and really try to see if there's a way for us to comb through the issues to resolve the actual conflict.
Okay. So you said parties and people, right?
Right.
So who is that? Like, who can use mediation?
Anybody can use mediation. I know that sounds crazy, that seems unrealistic, but literally people can use mediation in business, and there are family disputes. They can use mediation. We've had people use mediation to try to bring marriages together. So there will be something that we're going to be doing called Mediation to Stay Married.
I'm excited about that one.
Yes, it's awesome. So people and parties, literally, any conflict can be mediated, and that's what we would do. You maybe hear the term mediation where you're hearing about big firms, big companies like Coca-Cola has a dispute with a group of their employees. But we also use mediation when you have a mom and pop store who wants the local county to clean up the streets. Or if we have a dad and mom who are divorcing but they want to figure out the best plan of visitation and custody for their child, they may use mediation. Or like I said earlier, you may have a couple that really wants to stay married, but they're trying to figure out how to wade through some of the hard issues surrounding their marriage, and they can use mediation. So when I say people and parties, I literally mean anybody who has conflict.
And that's awesome.
Yes.
It's kind of really nice, like you said, that it's not just limited to these large corporations.
Exactly.
But everyone can take part in it. So for example, I got my own business. I have, this resolution, this issue that I need resolved with a third party or with another party.
Right.
When do I come to you with that?
Okay. People ask me this all the time. When's the best time to mediate a situation? And what I've found is it usually can be broken down into two categories. There's pre-suit, pre-lawsuit, or post-suit after a lawsuit has been filed. So let's use the landlord-tenant scenario. You're a landlord and you have a tenant who's not paying rent.
No.
that would never happen, right? Never. But you have a tenant that's not paying rent, and you want to get the rent from them, and you feel like they may be willing to negotiate and work some things out. You don't want to kick them out. You don't want to go through the hassle of going to court, but you want your money.
Right.
The tenant may say, look, I want to pay you, but you haven't been doing this, and this, so I have your money, but I'm holding back rent because you haven't done this for me. Well, that will be an ideal time to say, let's go to mediation. Let's talk about why you're upset, why am I upset, and how can I get my money and you stay in your apartment.
Yeah.
So before you even go to the courts, before you call a lawyer, you can call a mediator and say, look, we have this issue. Can you help us? And as long as both parties are willing, because they both have to be willing to come, but as long as both parties are willing to come to the table, you can do a pre-suit mediation.
Okay.
Then there's post-lawsuit. Nobody wants to get served in the mail. Nobody wants to serve anybody. But that happens. A lot of our courts are requiring mediation now before you can even have a court hearing. Some circuits, though, don't require a mediation, but people may say, I know I sued him, but I'm nervous about what the courts are going to do. I don't want a court telling me what's going to happen with my money, my property, or my baby. So you can call me at that point and say, look, we have this in the court's hands, but we want to resolve it. Could you help us mediate through our conflict? Okay. So those are two situations where you could say, I want to use a mediator.
Okay. So one thing that is striking a chord, especially with like the pre-suit, I don't have to go to court.
Right.
Okay. So that sounds amazing on so many levels.
Exactly.
But so I'm assuming money is a nice benefit in saving there. But can you talk about like all the benefits of mediation?
Yes, there are several benefits to mediation. The first one is not having to go to court. Mm-hmm. I'm a lawyer. I tell everybody I do it from the ceiling, to quote Andre 3000. I do it day in and day out. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are not comfortable going in front of a man or a woman and having them decide some of the most serious issues in your life. Mm-hmm. A judge may have 30 minutes, 45 minutes to hear your case, and then it's done. Mediation, you get a chance to go in front and say, look, Miss Mediator, Madam Mediator, if you choose me, or whoever you decide to go before, can you help us resolve this? It's not rushed. We're not trying to get you in and out the door. Mm-hmm. So you're saving the chance of having to go to the court, the pressure of being in court, and not knowing what's going to happen. Yeah. A judge is going to choose for somebody. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality. Somebody's going to win, and somebody's going to lose. And as you notice, we titled this a win-win for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I don't say win-win in the sense of we both walk away hand in hand, yay! But you do generally walk away where both people feel comfortable because you all have both said, this is what I want, I agree to it, I'm okay. Yeah. And so that's a great benefit, that you're walking away saying, I didn't get all the money that I wanted, but I got something rather than running the risk of not getting anything. Mm-hmm. I didn't get all the visitation that I wanted, but I know for a fact we have this agreement and it's not going anywhere. You know, so that's another benefit. Another great benefit, cha-ching, the money. Okay, even if you don't use lawyers, a lot of times people ask, like, I'm a lawyer, I see the benefit of lawyers. A lot of times people don't. Either they don't have the money for it, or they can get very expensive. The average lawyer hourly rate in Atlanta is anywhere from $125 to $325 an hour per side, per lawyer, billable for every minute of the day, drafting papers, drafting documents. So that you can imagine, add up very quickly. Yeah. Mediation, you have maybe a couple of hours. Even if it's a full day, you bill that mediator per hour, but it's split between the parties. So let's use the landlord-tenant example again. Okay. You all are having this conflict, and you say, you know what, Miss Duvernay, I think we can get it resolved. Mm-hmm. I would say, okay, this is my hourly rate. You don't have to get an attorney if you don't want to. You prepare your own documentation. You come prepared, and you and your tenant will split the fee down the middle. That sounds great. You know, yeah. It's done, you know. And so there are so many benefits, but financially and time are usually the biggest benefits that people have said that they've seen.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to take one quick break in here and insert, because I see we have live viewers. Hey, everyone. That the Q&A section is open. So if you have questions during this process, just submit them, and if we have time at the end to get to them, we will.
Yes, so, please ask away.
Yeah. All right, so, but I do have another question. Can you describe in more detail, like, because I'm getting it, right? I'm wrapping my head around it, but what is, like, the process? And what is a mediation process look like?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
That's such a good question, because before I had my first mediation, I didn't know what it was. And like I said, courts are requiring people to go to it. So as an attorney, I didn't know what to think about it, what it would look like, so that's an awesome question. Both parties will come together, and we meet at a neutral location, whether it's my office, the courthouse, your living room, wherever, your boardroom. They come together, and we sit down, and you lay out for me what you think your issues are. Okay. Both parties get an equal chance to tell me what they think is the issue. So if it's pre-suit, the landlord may say, look, I'm not trying to sue them, but he owes me $3,000. They'll give me a background story, tell me everything that's going on, and I'll write my notes and go from there. Mm-hmm. The tenant may say, he was supposed to provide me with cable. Cable's been out for 3 months. You know, yeah. Whatever the case may be, I write my notes. So, and we just start talking about it. Mm-hmm. You tell me, okay, this is what I think we need to do to resolve it. And she may say, this is what I need to do to resolve it. And we go as long as we need to go. And then you would imagine people start throwing out ways to resolve a conflict. Well, maybe I can get you to pay for cable for the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I can cut cable and pay you this much. Or, you know, and we just start putting out issues or ways to resolve it. And we go from there. And as long or as short as the parties need to resolve the issue, we do it. Once it's done, it can result in an agreement. Yay. It could result in an impasse, meaning they don't agree. Mm-hmm. But even in that, a lot of times clients say that at least they've gotten closer to understanding what's going on with their issues.
Right. So during this time, okay, so you talked about agreement. So maybe you can just add further, like what can an agreement look like? And then what about, confidentiality? How does all that work? Because, you're bringing stuff to the table and you're talking it all out.
And then it comes, right.
Yeah.
And people have expressed concerns about that. People have said, I don't want to come to mediation, lay it all out there, and then if we don't agree, now it's coming back to bite me on the butt. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. Mediations are completely confidential. Okay. So if you come with all your financials or you come with proof that your ex-husband's been doing this or that, hey, bring it. It happens, honey. It happens. But bring it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful about mediation because you can use these things to leverage to negotiate, but it can't come back to harm you in court. Nothing that's said in mediation can be used against you. It's not recorded. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking notes that are going to be used later. I can't be subpoenaed. So it really helps you decide, okay, I don't want my business out there in the street. Let me see if I can resolve this without taking it to court or without having the judge hear all this on the record with the court reporter typing everything I say, or an open court where any random can hear what's going on with my business or my family or my finances. Mm-hmm. So, and you asked about an agreement. If you do come up with an agreement, it is binding. Mm-hmm. It's a contract, so we call it a mediation agreement. Okay. I draft them up for the parties, make sure everybody agrees. We sign it. You walk away armed with not only just a happy, great feeling, but an actual tangible document that says, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen. And that's invaluable for parties because people don't want to feel like they wasted time coming to mediation with something that's not going to be an actual binding agreement.
Yeah. Sorry, you heard that pause. It's only because she's actually saying stuff that I didn't get a chance to ask even earlier. So like some of this is new to me, and I'm like, that's great.
Yes.
That's a huge benefit. I mean, I know you had some people at the money, but I mean, confidentiality and knowing that you can walk out with a binding agreement, like you said, not having to put all your business on Front Street.
Right.
If you're a business or even a person, I mean, not having everything out there for the public, especially with social media and the digital world, that really is invaluable.
It has been, when I tell you, I have, as you all may know, I am an attorney as well as a mediator. My clients are flocking to the mediation process because of one big reason, confidentiality. Mm-hmm. They can share openly and honestly without feeling like if we don't work this out, now everybody knows what's going on. You know, parties who are not a part of the case are not in the mediation room. So where you may have a court case where mama them, cousin them, sister them, brother them, people that come and just want to be your support system. Yeah. They're not there breathing down your neck. Your landlord's wife is not going to be there. Your former employee's cousin is not going to be there. It's going to be you and the party that you have the conflict with and the mediator. That's invaluable. A lot of times just even getting those extra voices out of the situation is invaluable.
And then it's just more about, it seems, really coming to a resolution in the conflict itself versus everyone else having their input and then having to save face. So.
And we've really seen it in these family law cases, especially ones involving children, where a lot of times everybody in the family loves this child, but the parents are the ones that need to be able to resolve the conflict. Mm-hmm. And they could never resolve it because there was always an outside force, but when they were just them and the person they had that child with and the mediator, they were able to kind of turn out all the noise and come up with an agreement. And it's been, like I said, you can probably tell my passion and excitement. I love mediation. Even though, like I said, I'm an attorney and I go to bat for my clients, and we'll talk about that at another session. Mediation is just a great, great opportunity for people to move forward Win-win, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know the title is making more sense every day as you work through it. And I did see another question here. So you mentioned an impasse, right? So if a resolution isn't reached, so can you kind of talk about what happens if, we don't get to necessarily hold hands and run off into the sunset?
Exactly. As I mentioned earlier, if you come to an impasse, it's still, we've heard people say there's still a great benefit because it narrows the issues. So you may come to the mediation table thinking you have issues about custody, visitation, property, debts, and then you realize, okay, we really don't have any issues about that. I don't want to agree with you right now, but I understand that you're really not going to fight me about my bands, or you're not going to fight me about this or that. So it narrows the issue. So if you come to an impasse, it just means you don't have an agreement, and you move on. If it's before, remember I said pre-suit versus post-suit. If it's pre-suit, then you decide if you want to go forward and file suit or take alternative means of working it out. There's arbitration, like we're going to talk about in a future hangout. And then there are some other ways you may do it. Maybe you may just send some letters or different things, or maybe just decide to let it go if you can't work out an actual resolution. If it's post-suit, then you just gear up for court. That happens not often, but often enough where you try to narrow issues. It's not worked out. Like I said, a lot of courts are requiring mediation, so people are going because they have to, but they know they're going to ultimately want a judge to decide it, and then you've been released to do that. I didn't even mention this. Sometimes people don't get a resolution at mediation, but because they have narrowed the issues, they can still do the negotiation process and get a resolution a week or two later. We've seen that happen a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, the process can be beneficial for a number of reasons.
Okay. What about, I don't even want to call it jurisdiction or geographic. So, say, I'm in Georgia and the person I'm having an issue with is in Florida. And are we able to do mediation?
Yes, that's great too. Obviously, if somebody lives in Florida and you have an issue with them in Florida, you can only sue them in the Florida court. So you have to go through a Florida judge who you may not know, find a Florida lawyer who you definitely wouldn't know, and spend the money getting to Florida back and forth because, as we said, court dates are very expensive. Or you can do a mediation and say, hey, I have this great mediator, Candace Hill Duvernay, and I would love for her to mediate our conflict. And I can mediate anywhere in the country. I am state certified in Georgia, obviously, but I can mediate anywhere in the country as long as both parties agree, and we can make it happen.
Okay, that's great. Now, do all mediations have to take place in person?
No,
okay,
they do not. With the beautiful technology, you see we're doing this wonderful Google Hangout. We have done Skype mediation. Okay. We've done mediations by phone. I like the Skype option because you're still able to see and hear and be a part of the process. But we also have done phone mediations. As long as both parties agree, we can go from there. You want to make sure you obviously have a secure phone line because, as I stated, mediations are confidential. Okay. So you're not going to just be sitting on the bus having a mediation while you're riding home. That's another reason why we like Skype, because you can say, okay, I see that you're in there by yourself. Nobody's listening, but it can definitely be done.
That's really good.
Yeah, and we have the capabilities of doing all that at Hill Duvernay Associates.
Okay. Do you have anything that I didn't ask that you think people should know about when it comes to mediation?
I just want people to know that it's a great, great benefit. I don't think you didn't ask anything that people don't know. I know we talked about confidentiality. We talked about the financial benefits.
Both being huge.
Yes, huge, right? So I think you've asked them all.
I've got a question.
Yes. That's why I love you hang out, because they just come up automatically.
All right, so what is the typical length that you see, and how long can it go?
That's a great question. I did a mediation today that lasted an hour. I know a guy who did a mediation for several days. It depends on the conflict. I will say that so for working the process. So if you and I have been married for 30 years and we have 5 properties and all these people, it's not realistic to think that we're going to really divide our entire estate in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about $300 worth of rent, you probably can get that done in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So it really just depends on the parties. Most firms do require at least a 1 to 2 hour minimum, just because if you're really going to come to the mediation table, there needs to be an incentive to actually try to work out the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for a standard case with maybe a limited number of issues, probably half a day.
Yeah.
What we like to do at our firm, and any good firm will try to assess your situation without getting too much into details. They'll say, okay, what's your case? A little quick scenario. If it's a family law case with children involved, I would at least expect half a day to a day.
Mm-hmm.
This also brings up the fact that sometimes you can pause a mediation. So sometimes there may be, let's use the landlord as an example.
Yeah.
I just love that one. A case where you might say, well, we're going to give him 30 days to put the cable on, and then we'll discuss it. We can do a timeout for the mediation and say, for 30 days, we're not going to do anything on the case. We won't file a lawsuit. We won't charge you any rent.
Mm-hmm.
We won't send you any more letters. We won't do anything on the case to allow you to do something in conjunction with this. Then we'll come back to the mediation and see if we can resolve the conflict.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. And you won't get that in court. The judge is going to say, we're getting it done today, you know? And so you can pause the mediation and come back. You know, we call it resetting the mediation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an invaluable tool. We see that a lot in mediation to stay married, where people are mediating difficult marital conflicts, and it may take a little bit of work, you know, in and day out. We see it in a lot of custody mediations where they want to see how a parenting plan is working with the child. So yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to recap. What I loved hearing, though, aside from, you know, saving money, and then there's the confidentiality part, really, but we need to revert the website and add it on there too, is flexibility.
Yes.
Because the geographic area, the time frame, being able to put it on pause, I mean, all of that's more conducive to people's lifestyles and needs.
Exactly.
Versus a set court date and
if you wanted to do a mediation at 6:30 on a Thursday, you could do that, you know. And if you wanted to, courts are not going to stay there and say, well, you don't have a babysitter, you don't have this, you don't have that. Come, you know, when you feel like it. But no, you can do that. And flexibility is a great word for it. I don't know why I hadn't thought about that before, but it's invaluable. Like I said, if you have people who are willing, and like I said, they may not necessarily be best friends at the beginning or the end, but they see the value in the process. And that's why we're doing webcasts, and that's why we're putting the word out there, because I don't think enough people know really how beneficial this is.
Yeah. Well, I think they know a little more now.
Yes, make it right.
I can't believe you did a throwback like
that. I know.
And I joined in. All
exactly.
Right. So on that note, I guess just tell everyone if they have more questions or want to do a consultation or anything.
Yes, if you have questions, feel free to contact me at 770-692-8481. That's my phone number. Or www.hillduvernay.com. Is it on the screen?
It will be.
Okay, it'll be on the screen. So www.hillduvernay.com. There's a contact page. You can leave your questions. You can even schedule an appointment or a mediation if you want to on that. Of course, we have a newsletter. We have a blog. We are really trying to take it to another level in terms of making sure you all are informed about what's going on.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up. So check out the website. Sign up for the newsletter when you want to hear about when the next webcast is going to
be.
If you sign up for the newsletter and join the Hill Duvernay Facebook page,
yes,
then those are the best ways to know what's coming up next. And we hinted at it. So mediation to stay married. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a good one.
Awesome. People around Atlanta are already getting super excited about this. It's not new, but once again, people aren't doing it. So I'm bringing it to you all.
All right.
All right.
So we're going to sign off.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.